At the engagement party, my fiancé, Liam, personally pushed me into Finn's arms, all to appease his childhood friend. Last time, you accidentally stepped on Vivian's pet dog, and she cried for a long time. I promised her I'd make you marry Finn to appease her. I froze, then finally nodded in agreement. Liam nodded in satisfaction, lightly patting my shoulder. Don't be upset. It's just a formality. I won't really let you be wronged. I'll still marry you later. But later, when he found out I had actually got married at City Hall with Finn, he completely broke down and confronted me. Why? Weren't you supposed to love me most? She still dreamed of being able to marry into the influential Blackwood family, but in the end, she's marrying Finn. It's hilarious. She's probably kicking herself now, isn't she? Everyone knows Vivian is Mr. Liam's untouchable nerve. She totally brought this fate on herself. She still thinks she's a former socialite. If Liam hadn't been kind enough to take her in, she would have been dead in the streets long ago. Vivian, with a sweet smile, linked arms with Liam, her eyes provocatively sweeping over me. Grace, they say Finn is very strong. You're going to be so happy tonight. I just wonder if you can handle it. As if remembering something, she dramatically covered her mouth, letting out a sneering laugh. Oh, I forgot. You're just inherently vile. You probably prefer things a bit rougher, don't you? After all, like mother, like daughter, isn't that how your mother was back then too? The jeering around me grew louder, mixed with countless obscenities. I lowered my eyes, the blood in my veins turning to ice. I clenched my fists, wishing I could rush up and tear her to shreds. Liam watched my reaction, a mocking smirk playing on his lips. Grace, she's your own sister. Your family, it's just a joke. You're not going to get angry, are you? I stared at him, my eyes burning uncontrollably. Yet he knew perfectly well how Vivian's mother had risen by trampling on my mother's memory. Back then, her mother had brazenly made a scene at my house with an intimate video, mercilessly taunting my gravely ill mother, literally provoking her into a heart attack and subsequent death. Later, she falsely accused me of causing her miscarriage, which forced me out of my home, reducing me to fighting stray dogs for food on the streets. It was Liam who found me half frozen and barely breathing under a bridge, took me home, wrapped me tightly in his warm embrace, and promised me, from now on, I'll take care of you. He knew all this history better than anyone, yet he could still say such things. Alright, all of you, you're going to make our bride cry. It's her big day, why are you acting like this? Happy wedding, Grace. Your sister has prepared a gift for you. Vivian, giggling, clapped her hands, and had someone bring up a gift box, opening it in front of everyone. Inside, she conspicuously held up a gleaming dog chain, and at the end of the chain hung a crumpled lace camisole. This is the lace camisole my puppy outgrew last time. Why don't I give it to you as lingerie? Liam dotingly ruffled her hair, his eyes full of indulgence. You're being silly. He turned to me, his tone matter of fact. Just humor her. She has a childish temper and doesn't know boundaries. Don't worry, according to our engagement, I'll keep the position of Mrs. Liam for you. Under everyone's mocking gazes, I calmly took Finn's hand. No need, Liam. I'm willing to marry him. Let's call off our engagement. Liam paused slightly, as if he hadn't quite heard what I said. When he finally realized, a hint of anger appeared on his face. After all, he had grown accustomed over the years to me taking care of him like a nanny. No matter how outrageous his actions, I had never defied him. He was convinced I would never truly leave him. Grace, do you know what you're saying? He frowned, reaching out to grab my wrist, when Vivian suddenly why burst out laughing. Always playing these hard-to-get games, you really think you're something, don't you? I despise those manipulative, sweet-talking types. You're not actually trying to use your so-called life-saving grace to tie Liam down for life, are you? Liam's body stiffened, and his expression darkened. His personality was such that he hated being guilt-tripped the most. Liam, she deliberately pushed me into the lake last time, causing me to have a high fever for days. You promised me you'd punish her. Vivian shook his arm, pouting discontentedly. If you ask me, she should have that expensive wedding dress stripped off her. She's so dirty, she doesn't deserve such pure white. Liam frowned hesitantly, and Vivian immediately clutched her chest, gasping for breath. Since you're so biased towards her and can't bear to, then never mind. I'm not important anyway. She had suffered from asthma since childhood, and Liam was most afraid of her having an attack. He nodded without hesitation. Several burly bodyguards grabbed hold of me. I struggled desperately, but couldn't move at all. Grace, just cooperate. You have undergarments on anyway, so nothing will be exposed. I trembled violently all over, looking at him in disbelief. Vivian had specifically arranged for the stylist, and I wasn't wearing anything underneath. But before I could speak, he waved his hand and turned his head away. Hurry up and do it. If gets upset, I'll be heartbroken. My eyes reddened with desperation. I kicked and thrashed against the bodyguards, even wanting to lower my head and bite their arms. But all my resistance was futile. The fabric ripped with a tearing sound. The wedding dress slipped from my shoulders, revealing large, hideous scars on my skin. Under the spotlight, I wrapped my arms around myself, closing my eyes and letting tears stream freely. Those were burn marks from 5 years ago when I escaped a burning warehouse to save Liam. Flames engulfed the falling beams, and I dove to push him away, but sparks seared my back and arms. He had held me countless times, crying in distress. You saved me once when we were children, and now you've ended up like this for me again. Grace, I'll never be able to repay what I owe you. Actually, I hadn't loved Liam originally. I only tried to get along with him because of that engagement contract. Later, after a major upheaval, he was the one who gave me a ray of light in the darkness. He used to be very good to me. Mr. Liam, decisive and efficient in business, would clumsily brew soothing herbal tea when I was cramped up in bed with menstrual pain. He would meticulously prepare surprises for me on every single anniversary, big or small. He would cancel all engagements on stormy nights and come back specifically to comfort me when I was scared. I thought he loved me. Until last week, when I passed by Blackwood and, on a whim, decided to go up and surprise him. But at the CEO's office door, I saw Liam and Vivian intimately entwined in front of the floor-to-ceiling window. She asked him breathlessly, "Who do you truly love, me or that vile woman?" Liam hesitated slightly, then still answered her. "Of course, I love you. Those scars on her, they disgust me just looking at them. If she hadn't recklessly rushed out when we were kids, preventing me from being kidnapped, and the old man hadn't settled that accursed engagement, I would never have married her." I don't remember how I quietly left. I only remember the heartache I felt then, which was no different from now. Countless camera flashes went off, snapping pictures of my semi-naked body. Liam froze for a second. How could this be? He took a step forward, but Vivian pulled him back. The shouts of humiliation were incessant. I closed my eyes tightly, swaying unsteadily. A jacket descended from above, covering me. I opened my eyes abruptly, meeting Finn's panicked gaze. He clumsily took my hand. "Don't be afraid. I'll take you away. That AF." Turnoon, Vivian twisted the truth and posted the video from the engagement party online. Wealthy fiancé caught in a disgraceful act with Finn in public. The comment section was filled with insults directed at me. Does this vile woman really deserve to marry Liam, leaving a wealthy family to cling to Finn? She must be crazy. She looks decent on the surface, but is so depraved behind the scenes. Truly disgusting. Mr. Liam is so pitiful, to be humiliated like this by his fiancée. Someone dug up my family information, and my deceased mother was relentlessly ridiculed along with me. Watching the overwhelming torrent of insults online, Liam merely sent me a casual message. "Just let Vivian vent her anger first. It's okay if you suffer a little." I no longer felt the pain, but tears still streamed down. Finn panicked, clumsily wiping them away for me. "Don't cry. I have candy for you." He pulled out a crumpled milk candy from his shirt pocket, unwrapped it, and popped it into my mouth. "It's sweet. It'll make the pain go away." The milk candy slowly melted on my tongue, indeed dissipating some of the sadness I had felt moments before. He leaned closer to me, his eyes sparkling as he stared at my face, as if confirming whether I was truly no longer sad. Having not been cared for like this in a long time, I felt a long-lost warmth. I stared into his guileless eyes, and a bold idea sparked in my mind. "Let me take care of you from now on, okay?" Seeing him nod innocently, I took his hand and went to City Hall. When we came out, I held 2 bright red certificates in my hand. 3 days later, the widely circulated indecent photos from the engagement party were taken down by Liam. He found me and absent-mindedly explained to me, "What happened that day was an accident. I wronged you, and I'll make it up to you later. Vivian said she feels bad about it and wants to apologize to you." I shook my head, refusing coldly. "I won't go." Finn walked out of the room, instinctively Deli standing beside me and clutching my hand. Liam frowned with displeasure. "Grace, even if you want to anger me, there's no need to deliberately act intimately in front of me. It was just a misunderstanding. You should have stopped this charade. Whether you want to go or not, Vivian is already waiting at the hotel, and I don't want to disappoint her." Several bodyguards appeared at the door. Fearing I might scare Finn, I had no choice but to compromise and agree. In the private room, I listened to Vivian's insincere apology, remaining silent. Liam was displeased with my attitude, but in the end, said nothing. Someone suggested playing truth or dare. I didn't want to participate, but Liam wouldn't let me leave. The spinner landed on Liam, and someone asked him, "Is the most important person in your heart?" He nodded without hesitation, his voice gentle. "Yes." Immediately, everyone around them cheered, whistling, and shouting, "Get together." Vivian covered her face, blushing shyly as she leaned towards Liam. I sat in the corner, watching the farce with a blank expression. The next second, the spinner stopped in front of me. "Dare." A malicious smile curved Vivian's lips. "For the dare, why don't we throw Finn into an abandoned factory in the city outskirts and see if he can find his way back?" The blood in my veins froze. I shot to my feet. "No." My reaction caused a commotion throughout the room. Who knew Grace was quite protective of Finn? Could it be that she's actually fallen for him? I'd say maybe. After all, Finn is quite handsome. She's gotten a taste of it and can't let go now. Liam's face grew increasingly grim, but Vivian smiled even more triumphantly. "Grace, if you can't bear to part with Finn, then drink." She pointed to the table in front of her, where 12 bottles of liquor were neatly stacked. "Drink all of these, and I'll have Liam let him go." Liam's expression was unreadable, but I agreed without hesitation. "I'll drink." Vivian cheered in. Egged me on. "Add another 12 bottles. I want to see how much she can really drink." Liam was silent for 2 seconds, tacitly agreeing to Vivian's demand. Soon, 12 bottles of strong spirits were brought to the table. Placed alongside the previous drinks, they crowded half the table. I twisted open a bottle and tilted my head back to chug it. The pungent alcohol slid down my throat and into my stomach like a ball of fire, burning through my insides. I don't know how much I drank, but everything in front of me was spinning. My body went limp, and I uncontrollably collapsed to the ground. I stayed in the hospital for a full 7 days. Liam arranged for the most elite medical team, but he never appeared. It wasn't until the day I was discharged that Liam, his face livid and seething with immense fury, strode towards me and, without a word, raised his hand and slapped me. My cheek stung fiercely. I covered my face, looked up, and calmly met his angry gaze. Vivian peered out from behind Liam, her face streaked with tears, crying hysterically. "Grace, why did you have Finn block me at my doorstep? If hadn't kept bodyguards with me, who knows what terrible things might have happened." Liam embraced Vivian, his eyes filled with disappointment and anger as he looked at me. "I never thought you'd be so vicious, to try and hurt your own sister for Finn." My heart pounded uncontrollably. Had gone to Vivian's doorstep looking for me? Where is he? "Liam, what did you do to him?" "He's Finn, please let him go." Liam's face was like ice. He raised an eyebrow and retorted, "You care about him that much? So everything Vivian said is true, you're just promiscuous?" He gave a cold laugh, and the look of disgust on his face intensified. "Or is this just a trick to make me jealous? Trying to get my attention by hurting Vivian? You're truly repulsive." Having been completely disappointed in him long ago, my heart felt nothing. I didn't. After calmly denying it, I turned to leave and find Finn. But had his bodyguards block my way. He sighed, reaching out to caress my swollen face. "Grace, I told you, when you make a mistake, you must be punished. Couldn't you just be a little more obedient? I've already promised to marry you." His tone was gentle, but I couldn't help but tremble all over. Before I could say anything else, Liam pulled out his phone, opened a video, and held it directly in front of me. With just one glance, my eyes widened in horror. Several bodyguards stood in front of my mother's cemetery, holding crowbars and shovels, digging up my mother's gravestone. "Liam, stop." I lunged wildly to snatch his phone, tears streaming down uncontrollably. "That's my mother's grave. How dare you do that? You lunatic." Liam, however, didn't budge an inch. With a cold sneer, he grabbed my wrist and flung me back onto the bed. "This is the punishment you deserve." I watched helplessly as the urn containing her ashes was shattered by a shovel, and her ashes scattered by the wind. My vision went black. A tearing pain ripped through my chest, and a mouthful of fresh blood sprayed directly onto the phone screen. "Liam, I already told you I cancelled our engagement. We're over. What right do you have to punish me?" I grabbed his collar, screaming with all my might. He froze for a second, then asked me with a hint of disbelief, "After all these years, you're telling me it's over?" Vivian interjected at the opportune moment. "Grace, in your heart, is Liam still not as important as Finn?" Liam's expression turned completely cold. He flung my hand away and handed me over to the bodyguards. Vivian leaned into his arms, sobbing. "Liam, I'm still terrified. My heart is pounding with panic. Liam didn't spare me another glance, embracing her as he turned and walked away. Countless hands reached for me, their faces twisted with sinister smiles. Vivian gave us instructions to take good care of you. Like a broken marionette, my head was slammed repeatedly against he wall. Blood mixed with tears smeared my face. Humiliation and intense pain made me wish I were dead. With my last ounce of strength, I pushed away the person on top of me and lunged towards the window. As I fell, I faintly heard Liam's cry of alarm. Outside the operating room, Liam anxiously grabbed the doctor, his tone firm. Use the best medicine to save her. I'm her husband, I'll sign. The doctor flipped through the folder in his hand, frowning in difficulty. But, Liam, the records show her husband is someone else. The registered name is Finn. Chapter 2. The of my. For a moment, Liam thought he was hallucinating. He clearly heard every word the doctor said. But he couldn't understand it at all. Grace's husband is someone else? How could that be? He grabbed the doctor's wrist, propping up his trembling body. What kind of joke is this? We've been together for 5 years. She said she would marry me just recently. How could her husband be someone else? Seeing his agitation, the doctor said no more and handed him the registration documents. Liam took it with a trembling hand. As his gaze fell on the line spouse, Finn, the black characters on white paper felt like a red-hot branding iron, searing his eyes. He staggered back half a step, clutching the documents tightly, shaking his head in disbelief. Don't help her deceive me. This can't be real. You must have made a mistake. But a strong sense of unease was quickly overwhelming him. Finn, the name sounded vaguely familiar, but for a moment he couldn't recall. Vivian saw Liam's suddenly changed expression and feigned concern as she consoled him. What's wrong, Liam? Did the doctor say something bad about Grace? Honestly, she's too much. It was just a few words. Does she really have to go so far as to threaten to jump off a building just to get your attention and concern? You don't need to worry too much. It's only the 5th floor, she won't die from that fall. Liam's face was grim. After a long pause, he squeezed out a sentence through gritted teeth. The doctor said I'm not her legal husband. The name on the records is Finn. Finn? Isn't that the name of the Finn we found? Vivian covered her mouth and chuckled. Oh, is that all? It must be fake. Why would she give up the lavish lifestyle you can provide to marry Finn? It's clearly just a trick to provoke you. Hasn't she always been like this? Whenever you're a little nice to me, she deliberately finds ways to make you worry about her. Now it's just a new marrying Finn excuse. When she wakes up, you just need to coax her, and she'll come crawling back. After all, without you, she's nothing. If it had been before, Liam would have found Vivian's words perfectly logical. He was so certain I couldn't leave him. Before, whenever we argued or had disagreements, if he just casually put in a little effort to buy some gifts to appease me, I would forgive him with reddened eyes. Even last time, when he left me alone on the street on my birthday for Vivian, I cried all night, but the next day, when he sent a limited edition handbag, I still sniffled and said, don't do that again next time. He had long taken my compromises for granted, believing that with a bit of material compensation and a few sweet words, I would dutifully return to his side, just as before. But this time, he felt something was different. The unwavering eyes I had when I proposed canceling our engagement that day flashed in his mind, and his heart plunged to rock bottom. Vivian continued to badmouth me from the side. She kept saying I was unreasonable, immature, and always making a big deal out of nothing. In the past, Liam would dotingly tap her nose and agree with her words. But now, he couldn't connect any of those words to me. He only found Vivian's incessant chatter grating. Seeing her endless talking, Liam, for the first time ever, snapped at her. Enough. She's not like that. That one sentence instantly made Vivian's eyes well up. Leah. What do you mean by that? Do you think I'm being excessive now? Are you starting to feel sorry for her? Have you forgotten how she and her mother treated me back then? If it weren't for that mother and daughter, how would I have ended up wandering aimlessly without even a home? My mother's matter, no matter when it was brought up, was always a sore spot for Liam. In truth, he knew back then that things weren't as Vivian claimed, but he had been moved by Vivian's tears. That's why he indulged her repeatedly. Recalling my helpless eyes, like a startled fawn's, when he found me nearly frozen to death under the bridge, Liam's heart felt like it was being brutally cut by a dull knife. For the first time, he felt guilt. He waved his hand in annoyance. Send back first. Vivian's eyes widened in shock. Liam, how could you treat me like this? Didn't you say you cared about me most? But no matter what she said, Liam didn't spare her another glance. She could only reluctantly leave with the bodyguards. Staring at the glaring red light of the operating room, he sent a message to his executive assistant. Checks file. Also, investigate Finn. Half an hour later, his executive assistant called. Over the phone, his executive assistant's tone was hesitant, stammering, unable to complete a sentence. Mr. Liam, regarding Mrs.'s situation, there are some things I'm afraid you might get angry about. Liam's knuckles tightened abruptly around the phone. His sapple bobbed. Just say it. His executive assistant was silent for a moment, then spoke. Miss has indeed registered her marriage. The date was the same day as your original engagement party. It seems that after you publicly said you'd marry her off to Finn, she got married at City Hall with him. That information has also been thoroughly investigated. He is the missing young heir of the Wen family. Due to a car accident, he became mentally incapacitated. The family has been spending a fortune searching for him. Liam asked in a hoarse voice, the family? The famous Wen family that's in international trade? After receiving the executive assistant's affirmative reply, he suddenly let out a sigh of relief. Given the Wen family's standing and rules, they would never agree to their son rashly marrying an ordinary girl at City Hall like this, let alone accept a marriage made in such haste. As long as the Wen family opposed it, Grace would return to him. At this thought, a faint smile reappeared on his face. Just as he was about to hang up, his executive assistant's voice rang out again. Mr. Liam, we also found out some other things. Miss never did anything to harm Vivian, many things were self-orchestrated by Vivian. In fact, Vivian deliberately swapped Miss's dress at the engagement party, causing her to be publicly humiliated. And, right after you left the room, Vivian hired people to abuse Mississippi Miss, unable to bear the humiliation, jumped out of the hospital window. His executive assistant's words were like a thunderbolt, striking Liam's head. What did you say? His voice was so hoarse it didn't sound like his own, trembling with disbelief. Vivian hired people to abuse her? Yes, we retrieved the hospital corridor surveillance footage, and we found the people Vivian hired. They've already confessed. Every word was like a sharp knife, piercing directly into Liam's heart. He was in so much pain he could barely breathe. The phone in his hand smashed onto the floor, shattering into pieces. Watching the disconnected call, his executive assistant couldn't help but sigh. He had warned his boss that morning not to take Mrs. compromises for granted, and not to blindly believe Vivian's words. But hadn't listened then, even accusing him of meddling. Now, things were irreversible. Even if his boss regretted it now, it was useless. Liam slumped to the floor, closing his eyes in despair. Only now did he clearly realize how many terrible things he had done. Every single instant. He had personally pushed the girl whose heart and eyes were filled with him towards the abyss of despair. He pulled out his phone and scrolled through their chat log. It was all one-sided concern from me. With every sentence he read, his heart ached more. The countless overlooked details now felt like sharp shards, cutting his heart to shreds, leaving it raw and bleeding. Tears fell uncontrollably. He tried to wipe them away, but they just kept coming. In his heart, Liam prayed countless times. If only I could be saved, he would pay any price. Even if I were disabled, he would still take care of me for the rest of my life. The light outside the operating room went out. Liam almost sprang up from the floor. His knees, numb from prolonged crouching, gave out as he tried to stand, and he stumbled, crashing heavily against the cold wall. He ignored the searing pain, his eyes fixated on the slowly opening door. His heart pounded frantically in his chest, as if it would burst through any second. The doctor walked out, shaking his head regretfully. His knees buckled, and he nearly collapsed to the ground. Mrs. injuries are too severe. Although her life was saved, she may remain in a permanent vegetative state. He scrambled forward, clutching the doctor's pants leg tightly, pleading desperately. Doctor, please, try again. She's still so young, you can't just give up on her. But the only answer he received was a helpless sigh. In the days that followed, Liam hired a world-class team of neurologists at a hefty price. He cancelled all his work commitments, staying steadfastly by my bedside every day. Vivian couldn't reach him. Crying and making a scene, she stormed into the hospital's VIP ward, but was stopped at the door by bodyguards who had been waiting. Before she could throw a tantrum, the bodyguards dragged her into the basement like a sack of potatoes. In the basement, she screamed and cursed furiously. You worthless curs, do you know who I am? I'm the heiress of the Liam's fiancé. How dare you treat me like this? Believe me, I'll make you pay for this. Seeing walk over, the triumph in her eyes intensified. You're finished. In a moment, I'll have Liam deal with all of you properly. But the next second, she unexpectedly received a brutal slap across her face. Vivian's head snapped to the side from the force of the blow. Blood instantly welled at the corner of her mouth, the triumph on her face froze, and her eyes filled with disbelief. Liam, you hit me? Are you insane? Liam looked down at her, with not a trace of warmth in his eyes. Vivian, aren't you clear about what you've done? He squatted down, pinching Vivian's chin between his fingers. His grip was so strong it made her gasp in pain. If it weren't for you, how would Grace have ended up like this? Bitch. Vivian, terrified by the cruelty in his eyes, trembled all over. Tears mixed with cold sweat streamed down her face, and she stammered as she spoke. I don't understand what you're saying, Liam. Believe me, you must be misunderstanding something. Liam turned off the voice recorder, cutting her off coldly. Since that's the case, you can also experience her despair. Vivian frantically shook her head, snot and tears smearing her face as she knelt on the ground, frantically kowtowing. Liam, I was wrong. I'll never dare to do it again. Please let me go, I beg you, I don't want. Didn't you say you loved me most? I promise I'll be obedient and listen to you from now on. Just spare me this one time, please? But the only answer she received was the sound of tearing fabric. An entire month passed like this, and Liam exhausted every possible method. He transformed the hospital room to resemble our home, placing my favorite sunflowers by the bed. Every day, he steadfastly read old diary entries to me, but I remained unresponsive. Until his executive assistant hesitantly suggested, how about we let Mr. Finn try? After all, his executive assistant didn't dare utter the rest of the sentence, but Liam knew what he was going to say. After all, Finn was Grace's legal husband. He was filled with conflicted feelings. He had thought about it, but Finn's identity made him feel awkward. By then, Finn had already been taken back by the Wynn family and was also receiving treatment. The family didn't reject the hasty marriage at City Hall as he had imagined. Instead, they also hired top doctors to treat me, seemingly intending to acknowledge me as their daughter-in-law. This realization filled Liam with dread. He was terrified that I would no longer belong to him. But for me to wake up, he was willing to try anything. When he received the news that the Wynn family agreed to Finn coming to the hospital, Liam was wiping my hand. His movements paused, but in the end, he nodded. Finn crept in quietly. Seeing my paper-white face, his eyes immediately welled up. He shyly took my hand, blinking back tears. Didn't you say you'd stay with me? Please don't sleep anymore, okay? Liam had initially regarded Finn's visit as a last-ditch effort. He had seen my unresponsiveness too many times, and even specialists had advised him to prepare for the long term, so he hadn't expected any miracles. But the next second, Liam saw my eyes open. He rushed over, overjoyed, and pulled me tightly into his embrace. Grace, you're finally awake. But I only stared directly at him, my voice hoarse from the prolonged coma. Who are you? Actually, I hadn't lost my memory. I just didn't want to remember Liam anymore. During the coma, it was like I had a very long dream. In the dream, I was chased and surrounded by many faceless figures, cursing obscenities that stung my eardrums. I was terrified, running desperately. The path beneath my feet seemed endless, yet the footsteps behind me grew closer. Mid-run, I encountered Liam. He stood under a street lamp not far away, reaching out to me with a smile, calling my name. Grace, come here. I'll protect you. But as I took a step, Vivian suddenly appeared behind him. She smiled and pulled Liam's arm, and they kissed intimately. Then he looked at me with a face full of disgust. You truly disgust me. He pushed me into a crowd, and I was trapped as if in quicksand, unable to break free. The nightmare engulfed me. I was suffocating in despair. Until's voice appeared. Don't be afraid. I'll take you away. Then, I woke up. Liam still ran to my hospital room every day, as always. I remained cold towards him. I had the nurses redirect the flowers he sent to other patients, and all the desserts he brought, which I used to love, I threw into the trash can. But he acted as if he didn't notice my resistance, still coming steadfastly every day, sitting by my bedside, chattering about the past, trying to awaken my lost memories. One day, he came again with an old snapshot of us. He pointed at the snapshot and recounted the past. Look, this was taken when we went to the beach. You even said you wanted to come back every year. I was tired of hearing it and mumbled a reply. The wind is too strong, there's no point in going. Liam's eyes suddenly lit up. He tightly gripped my hand, his voice trembling. Grace, you haven't really lost your memory, have you? His words tumbled out, urgent and fast, his breathing ragged. I've been watching you. So many of your small habits are just like before. You remember everything. Why? You clearly remember, so why pretend not to know me? In the dead silence, I spoke coldly. Because I'm tired. The light in Liam's eyes faded. His lips pale, he spoke. I was wrong about what happened. I've severely punished Vivian. I sent her to a covert detention center, where she suffers day and night. I'll make sure she pays for all the suffering you endured. Please, don't leave me, okay? I looked at him with a hint of amusement. Why are you explaining this to me? I don't want to hear it. Even if you kill Vivian, it won't change anything. I've told you countless times, we're over. After saying that, I stood up, intending to leave the hospital room. Liam grabbed my hand, his hands trembling. His eyes were bloodshot, tears clinging precariously, threatening to fall. In all the time I'd known him, I had never seen Liam so utterly devastated. I'm sorry for what I did to you, but Grace, we've been together for so long. Please, give me one more chance, okay? I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I scornfully shook off his hand. Mr. Liam, have some respect. I have a husband. Liam let out a desperate roar. I don't believe it. We've been through so much. How could you bear to marry someone else? Unless you tell me yourself that you truly don't love me anymore, that you have no feelings left at all, I will never let go. Looking into his despairing, hollow eyes, I spoke each word distinctly. Liam, I don't love you anymore. Now, and never again in the future, will I love you. Did you hear me clearly this time? Liam completely collapsed onto the floor, long-held tears gushing out. His voice was hoarse. Don't do this to me, Grace, please. I promise I'll love you well from now on. The hospital room door was pushed open, and Finn walked in, beaming. Grace, I'm here to pick you up. We'll go get some good food in a bit. I interrupted Liam's rambling vows. It's too late, Liam. Your vows mean nothing to me. Don't bother me again. Your persistence will only make me regret ever saving you. With these words, I met Liam's desperate gaze, took Finn's hand, and left. 3 months later, Finn's cognitive abilities had significantly recovered under the doctor's treatment and would continue to slowly recover in the future. I hesitated, wondering whether to explain everything to him. After all, getting married at City Hall with him felt a little like taking advantage of his vulnerability. But before I could speak, Finn surprised me first. Under a sky full of fireworks, he knelt on one knee, his eyes reflecting starlight. Grace, you said you'd always stay with me, so, will you marry me? Tears welled in my eyes as I smiled and nodded. Of course. My grand, high-profile wedding became a trending news topic. While scrolling through my phone, I unintentionally caught sight of a small line of text below the trending topics list. Blackwood CEO Liam a monastery and withdrew from Worldly. The report was brief, stating he donated all his shares and assets, went to a secluded monastery in the southern mountains, and would no longer concern himself with worldly affairs. I smiled faintly and casually exited the page. On the screen, our snapshot of Finn and me smiled brightly. The future stretched long before me, and I had someone to spend the rest of my life with. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section. Feel free to share your opinions, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating stories. See you next time.